I want to welcome everyone. And for those who don't know me, I'm Maria Callaghan. I'm Mike's older sister. I'll be the MC for the night. I think I was chosen for this role because I get things done and I keep people on time. I want to thank everyone for coming out to celebrate Mike's life. Seeing so many family, friends, and colleagues from all walks of Mike's life coming together to celebrate the life of my brother and the love we all have for him is amazing, and it's overwhelming. Mike would definitely love all this attention. He told us he wanted a party with all the people he cared about that included sparkling wine, drag queens, and lots of fun memories. So that's what we have planned for tonight. Mike loved to travel, and he made friends wherever he went. Many of those trip friends became friends for life. I want to thank everyone who traveled here tonight and fought the Toronto traffic to get here, and I think it was pretty bad. In addition to those of us from across Ontario, we have friends here from Mexico, Halifax, Montreal, and BC. This amazing turnout means a lot to our family. I did want to mention there is one accessible washroom on the main floor. It's behind the stage, if anybody needs that. And you've all seen there's a really great slideshow being shown on the TV and projector screens in there, and it's got some great memories. So I found a few thank yous. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for the generous donations that you all made to Princess Margaret and the Rainbow Railroad in honor of Mike. And some special thank yous to people who made tonight so special. The City of Toronto Police Honor Guard for such a kind gesture. Mike would have loved that. Jessica Smith-Joy for arranging the gorgeous flowers. Jean-Gilles Paris for organizing the drag show we'll enjoy later tonight. Jacqueline Dublajanic from Palais Royal, and Diana Klasanin for helping plan and coordinate this event. We would not have done it without them. I want to thank Cody Turner, who is Wade's brother, for putting together the great slideshow. And I really do want to thank my brother Joe Callaghan for having a vision for tonight and making it happen. So for the rest of the evening, there'll be about an hour of speeches. I know that sounds like a lot. We're really trying to limit it, but there's a whole lot of stories to tell. After the speeches, we will come back inside for a toast to Mike, a short toast, followed by a half-hour drag show featuring Jada Hudson from Canada's Drag Show, Vitality Black, and Katinka Couture. And after the show, we'd be happy to have you stay for dancing and more reminiscing. After all, Mike did want this to be a party. So first, to start off, I'd like to ask Mary Jo Callaghan, our mother, and as Mike would call her, the matriarch of the family, or if he was giving her his advice, he would call her Mary. So Mom, if you want to come up, please.
Jimmy? Yeah. I'm speaking for Jim and I tonight. Okay. Those of you that know Jim, you know that it's probably a better decision that I speak. I debated whether I'd be able to say anything this evening, but then I heard Michael's voice. He often affectionately called me Mary. I could hear him saying to me, "Don't wimp out, Mary. You're a strong woman. You can do this." So, Mikey, this is for you. Losing our precious Michael has been the saddest time of our life. Jim and I have experienced sadness and grief in our lives before, but we've never known the profound levels and depths it can take. Some days we cope better than others, but most days we're just very sad. We are grateful for our family, who, although they are also grieving, they're trying to help us and to help one another to get through these difficult days. It's hard to believe that we'll never see Michael again. We often come up with a "what would Mikey say" story. We have a laugh and a cry, imagining his hilarious comments. Jim and I have been really moved by the outpouring of love and support we receive from so many wonderful and caring people, many of whom we've never even met. We thank you all for your heartfelt tributes to our precious Michael and for telling us how much he meant to you and the impact he had on your life. It's been heartwarming, and it has meant more to us than words can say. I'd like to share with you a few special moments and qualities that made Michael who he was. From when Mike was a tiny baby, he brought an incredible amount of joy and laughter into our lives. Every family seems to have a character, and Michael was definitely ours. He brought a sense of adventure and fun to us all. He was always extremely curious about the world around him and everything and everyone in it. And he constantly asked endless questions. From a very young age, he had a gift with words. When he was 7 years old, he told us that he was going to be a lawyer. A lawyer. There were no lawyers in our family on either side, and not higher education either. In fact, Michael's maternal grandfather and great-grandparents came to Canada from the hills of Sicily. They never even had the opportunity to go to school. They valued education very highly, and they would have been so proud to have seen Michael become a judge. Michael had a great sense of humor, and he had the ability to make people laugh. He could have us all in stitches at the dinner table as he embellished the events of his day with hilarious and outrageous comments. He never lost that ability to make us laugh. Michael's activism and his desire to help others came at a very early age. When he was in elementary school, he began learning about some of the injustices and wrongs in the world. In his naive, childlike way, he wanted to right all these wrongs. He would make signs and collect signatures from his classmates to protest what he believed was an unjust situation. In fact, one day his grade 6 teacher stopped me and she asked me if Michael was okay, as he hadn't protested anything in over a week. When Michael was in high school, he didn't agree with a dress code that required students, some of you will remember that, to have a collar on their t-shirts. He felt it infringed on his personal freedom. Unbeknownst to me, one day he left for school wearing his favorite collarless t-shirt. When he arrived at school, he made a collar out of paper and he stapled it onto his t-shirt. His teacher immediately sent him to the office, informing Michael that he was out of dress code. When Mike got to the VP's office, he said, "Please show me where the rules say that the collar can't be made out of paper." The VP looked at him, shook his head, and he said, "Okay, kid, get out of here and go back to class." Such a Mikey moment. As life went on, Mike came into contact with many troubled and disenfranchised people. He always had great empathy and the ability to see the bigger picture. Michael genuinely cared about people, and he wanted everybody to enjoy their life. He had a real gift to make people feel loved and valued. He once said to me, "Mom, we're all the same." Although we've had many ups and downs and a lot of sadness in the past 5 years, we've also had a lot of joy. Jim and I got to spend a great deal of time with Michael, and we got to have many heart-to-heart conversations. We shared a lot of memories. We binged on Netflix together, and we laughed a lot. We were able to tell Michael how much he meant to us. Mike loved spending time with his siblings. One of my greatest joys as a mother is the love my children have, not only for Jim and I, but also for each other. That has sustained us all through these difficult days. We miss Michael very much. We miss his humor, his spontaneous and fun visits, mostly his love and being able to share a big hug. Mikey would not want Jim and I to stay home and cry. He'd say, "Stop crying, Mary." He would want us to live our life with enthusiasm, have fun, and do things that bring us joy. So, we will do our very best to honor Mikey by living the best life we can. I'd like to end with an anonymous, short, but beautiful quote I came across that sums up my feelings so well. When someone you love becomes a memory, that memory becomes a treasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Mom. Next, I'd like to ask Margie Callaghan to come up, my sister, Mike's baby sister. I wish I didn't have to follow my mom. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm going to try to get through this. So I'm Margie and I'm Mike's little sister. Mike was 4 years older than me, so he had those years to be the baby for a while until I came home. And as the story goes, when my mom and dad brought me home from the hospital, Mikey came over to look at me, gave me a hug, and said, "I love you, Margie," and pinching me at the same time. And that continued for a while. Hug, pinch, kiss, pinch, pinch. But that jealousy eventually wore off when he realized that he had a little sister who just adored him and wanted to be around him all the time. I've really struggled with what to say today, as there are really no words that can express my love for my brother Mike, or the sorrow that I feel that he's gone. I could tell you a million funny stories and anecdotes about Mike, but we'd be here all day, so I'm just going to keep them close to my heart. Mike meant everything to me. He was my brother, but he was my friend. He really understood me, my quirks and all. I always felt seen and loved and appreciated, never judged. And I always left a visit with Mike feeling better than when I got there. I miss him so much. I miss his smile, his blue eyes, his funny expressions, his compassion, his hugs. I think of him and miss him every day. How lucky was I that he was my brother? But I hear my kisms every day, and they make me smile, and I laugh out loud. Sometimes reality, it just hits you like a punch in the stomach that you're never gonna see this person again who you love so much. And that can be very overwhelming. But when that happens, I have to remember, and I really do believe this, that although Mike is no longer with us physically, he's everywhere. He's with me, he's in my heart, he's in my memories, he's all around. So I'd like to end with a short poem that has really brought me some comfort. And some of you may have heard it before. It's titled Immortality. Do not stand by my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am the thousand winds that blow. I am the diamond glints in snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. As you awake with morning's hush, I am the swift, upflinching rush of quiet birds in circling flight. I am the day transcending night. Do not stand by my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Love you, Mike. So, I'm going to call up the Sarnia Posse. These are a group of Mike's lifelong friends, and they're affectionately known as the Posse. So come on up.
Good evening. My name is Rudy-Ann Grigson. And I'm here with a very special group of friends known as the Posse. The Posse is a name that we adopted almost 3 decades ago from a gang of 11 from Sarnia, Ontario, who have maintained an unbreakable bond of friendship that has weathered all of life's experiences. And Mike, without a doubt, was the undisputed king or son that we all revolved around. We want to express our deepest gratitude for this opportunity to celebrate our remarkable friend, Mikey C. It is ironic that we are up here, as usually it would be Mike delivering the speech, whether it be in a suit, a dress, or even underwear and a tie. Although our hearts are heavy with grief, we find solace in coming together to honor his beautiful soul. And he truly had such a beautiful soul. Mike touched each of our lives in profound ways, starting from the age of 4. Yes, a few of us befriended him way back then, and believe it or not, even one in utero. For over 4 decades, we shared countless unforgettable moments with Mike. From belly laughs to heartfelt conversations, Mike was the glue that held our tight-knit circle together. He was our prom date, our +1, our dance partner, our wedding MC, and the fabulous uncle to the junior posse. He met us for runs, for dinners and pints, as well as hopping in cars and catching flights to visit us. His steady presence always brought warmth and laughter to every gathering, and his absence leaves a void that cannot be filled. Mike exemplified the true meaning of friendship in every sense of the word. He was fiercely loyal, endlessly supportive, and always a beacon of light. His laugh was infectious, and given his incredible wit, you couldn't help but feel uplifted in his presence. He brought out the best in each of us and taught us invaluable lessons about love, laughter, and living life to the fullest. We were amazed with the grace and the courage that Mike carried during his illness. His humor was constant in both light and dark times of his life. And above and beyond friendship, Mike shaped our perspective on feminism. His influence guided us towards a greater understanding of gender equality as well as social justice. Mike was a champion for all. We will honor Mike's memory by living with joy and kindness and a zest for life, for that is what Mike embodied. We'll forever keep Mike in our hearts and be grateful of the many memories that are so funny and silly and outrageous that even in the saddest moments, they bring a smile to our faces. You may notice that each of the posse is wearing a feather from none other than a pink boa. These feathers haunted Mike's apartment long after my stag-at party, I feel a little guilty, many years ago. It was the bane of his existence, as he found them years later after the event. And we can imagine his cheeky, exasperated smirk looking down on us as we're wearing them this evening. Now I'd like to call upon one of Mike's prom dates, Dr. Catherine Prendeville. She will share the posse tribute that she wrote on our behalf.
Okay, back in the room. Okay. To capture a butterfly in a jar. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, back in the room again. Second time. We're ready. Okay, ready. Okay, no, ready. Okay. To capture a butterfly in a jar diminishes its magical fluttering afar. And so to describe Mike in a verse or 3, a challenging feat, nay, an impossibility. His existence expanded our lives to no end, with each a deep connection, a steadfast soul friend. As early as kindergarten, there met the first 7. By the end of grade 9, 4 joined to create this tenacious 11. Mikey C, Mel, Stacy Jean, Becky Lahore, Chrissy Mack, Dr. Kathy, Kenny Rudy Toots, the Griffins 4, SS Orange, Trash Dog, Tanya or Tanya, depending on the season. Most started hanging out, St. Pat's Cafeteria being the main reason. Most of us had a crush on the special chromosome Y. Eventually realized Mike too watched the rear of a guy. Childhood innocence surrendered to adolescent flavors. We shared lockers, athletic wins, traded academic favors. Legends grew from the mischief we created. Though always purely legal, this may be debated. When Mike was involved, and more often leading the crowd, our laughter pealed widely, and often, or always, way too loud. The bond grew deep during those formative years, tied together through study, play, joys, and tears. Gender-neutral night out, or GNN, was officially coined to make it inclusive to all that joined. However, it quickly became a nuclear core to stage shenanigans, road trips, and always the dance floor. From cottage country to cities, both near and away, sharing pints with him at a local simply made our day. The branches started to grow from our friendship tree. The gateway roots held firm through university glee. Mike left us first as he matured a bit before the rest. He attended Ottawa U to give pre-law his best. Mike's Jedi mind trick was not only to see the truth, but to relay it always with humor and sooth. With his unyielding belief in equality for all, the Charter of Rights and Freedom hung from his heart, not just his wall. Attending to justice in the most Canadian way, integrity and fairness commanded his say. And although his profession is known to be loquacious, personal counsel when sought, he was apt and sagacious. Mike was loyal, loving, full of compassion and trust. He was our date to proms, celebrations, and as an MC, a must. Though his kindness and empathy was his quieter bit, his humor and charm made him an instant hit. With a twist of his tongue, he made the stupid spectacular, his Mike-isms embedded in our common vernacular. Punch it, Margaret, 3, 2, 1. Like a weekend at Bernie's, he made everything so much more fun. An all-inclusive hot tub, he labeled loudly chlamydia soup. Yet 2 drinks in, every bathed stranger joined our group. Mike was a constant through all trials and tribulations, sharing life's milestones with felicitations. From a quick text hello to advice sought discreetly, we each adore him fully, completely. But then the unthinkable. He was huge by an insensible causation. We wanted to fight his battle, cast that sickness to damnation. And too quickly in time, his countenance, it fell. The suffering he felt, mostly his silence did tell. We tried to cajole him, feed him, send him videos and sang, while our hearts were breaking with a deafening clang. And then he closed his eyes, and his breath, it did cease. He had to capitulate to find his release. And although he no longer holds our hands, he sees our hearts, and he hears its demands to evoke his soul back into our ether, lest we trust our spirits remain together. And that death, fuck you, death, thinks it holds the ace, it undermits our friendship base. The sadness it left us, we must not abide. This forced separation, we will deride. And hold Mike forever, closer than skin. To have known him so well, it's truly our win. We believe he laughs in heaven, and we, his posse, we will remain always 11.
Thanks for that. Next, I'm going to invite up Allison Delandre and Denise McCabe, Mike's very close friends who he met in law school, who are still his very close friends.
Okay, it's my girl. All right, we got this. I just have to take in the sight of all of you here. We met Mike in the fall of 1993 during our first week at law school at Dow. Among the Frosh Week events, I want you closer to me, get up here. Among the Frosh Week events that the law school had organized in their questionable wisdom, of course, was a group tour of the brewery in Halifax known as Alexander Keith's. Maybe some of you have heard of it. Mike sat beside us on the bus on the way to the tour. Our first exposure to his legendary sense of humor happened when we arrived at Keith's and someone read out the famous tagline of the product that I'm sure some of you know, which is, "Those who like it a lot." And of course, Mike immediately quipped up with, "Well, what if I only like it a little?" And that was the first of countless comedic retorts that colored literally our every conversation that we had with him for the next 31 years. In thinking about this day and the impossible challenge, as so many others have said, of trying to summarize the character of any person, never mind a person like Mike, that stupid catchphrase from Alexander Keith's kept coming back to my head. Those who like him a lot. Somehow I feel like this goofy phrase comes close to summarizing our Mike. It explains why 500 some people are here today to assemble in his honor. Because the truth is, it was impossible to feel equivocal about Mike. It was impossible to like him just a little. To know him at all was to like him a lot. I had the great privilege of getting to know Mike so well over the 5 years that we lived together. I used to refer to him affectionately as my first husband. We lived together for 2 years in Halifax and then about 3 more in Toronto when we started our careers as young crowns. And our careers proceeded in lockstep for the next 25 years as we progressed through our various roles, ending, as they both did, for us on the bench. But the Halifax years were our wonder years. Mike came to Dow bursting with curiosity, enthusiasm, and irrepressible silliness. Picture the puppy version of Mike that most of you know. After very obviously flirting with the hot Alexander Keith's brewery rep, he announced to Denise and I on the bus on the way home that he was gay. Let's just say we were honored and not terribly shocked by this news. When we moved into our house on Tobin Street, Mike offered further clarification to Denise and I of, in his words, quote, just how gay he was. He explained that while he'd been raised by Mary Jo to be a powerful feminist, that there was a bit of a caveat to those sentiments in that, as he put it, if I am even inadvertently exposed to your, quote, lady bits, I will feel myself becoming ill. He wasn't subtle in his descriptors, as most of you know. His favorite terms that we would hear him whispering or shrieking outside our bedroom doors were vile, vomitous, or the French, écœurant, or écourant. Should he ever actually see anything too feminine for his liking, he would reenact the final scene of The Wicked Witch of the West in Wizard of Oz, where he would melt at such an exposure. So knowing what you've just heard, or perhaps wish you hadn't heard about Mike, and his unique way of responding to the feminine form, you can imagine my excruciating delight and his horror in the final moments on the steps of the old city hall after the Jian Ghomeshi verdict. Some of you know where this is going. When beautiful Mike came out in his beautiful bow tie to give that measured Crown response to the verdict where you don't really say anything except we're going to consider the verdict, when a topless female protester burst through the crowd right up to Mike to show off the message that she had written on her tatas. The look on Mike's face was priceless. As so many today have been recalling, Mike was unreservedly, perpetually silly. But it would be a huge mistake to think of Mike as a silly person. Mike's phenomenal sense of humor came from his near photographic memory, his tremendous intellect, and his astonishing pop culture knowledge. Above all, Mike was a proud and serious student of Canadian history. He was the first person I knew who not only knew the whole story of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, but would gladly sing the whole song to you in perfect Gord Lightfoot twang. My favorite of his recurring impersonations were Cher, Darth Vader, Nell Carter, Hannibal Lecter, and the Bride of Chucky, to name but a few. We spent a lot of time thinking about the unique joy that Mike's gleeful humor brought to so many and that taught us so much during our years of friendship. Mike's humor was never directed at anyone else. It was always directed at himself. He was hilariously humble and clever. And I think that Mike's comedy did so much more for all of us than just make us laugh. He reminded us not to take ourselves too seriously. His humor connected people through their shared laughter. He deliberately diffused social tension and built bridges with his bright outfits and his giddy warmth. He proved that it was perfectly fine to stag leap under your own disco ball with your roommates on a weeknight just 'cause. Because it felt good and it gave him so much joy. So we both hope that everyone can, and I know we will, continue to honor Mike's legacy of beautiful and unbridled joy. If only by wearing bright colors, bow ties, taking ourselves a little bit less seriously, looking for the good in each other, loving fiercely, and choosing kindness wherever possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Allison and Denise. I'd like to call up Patrick Lowe, Mike's friend from Montreal.
Wow. I have props. I'm from TV production. I'm Patrick, a friend of Mike. I will tell you a story of how I met Mike. I'm pretty sure many of you heard it because Mike loved a good story, especially if he did something goofy in it. And he did. We met in the summer of '96. Mike just finished his law school in Dalhousie, and he was driving back to Toronto for his first job as a Crown prosecutor. I was at the time a Crown too. We met at Sky Bar in Montreal. He was with his friend, Luc Boudreau. I don't know if he's here. Oh, Luc. All right. It's been 30 years. And I was with my friend, Luc Blackburn. The two Lucs both clicked and left early. Well, me and Mike stayed in the bar until late, drinking and laughing a lot. At the end of the night, Mike tells me that he and Luc are sleeping in their U-Haul. He shows me the setup. They rearranged the bin of the truck full of boxes, so it was like a studio, with mattress, the sofa, and even a plant to embellish the setting. I was impressed, but I invited him to sleep at my place. I did not think that camping in the middle of the village in downtown Montreal was such a good idea. So next morning, I drive him back to the U-Haul. It was broken into. Yeah. Mike showed me their padlock. It was a tiny, tiny padlock that even Barbie could have used for her luggage. A lot of their furniture was stolen, but the first thing Mike told me was, they took all my funny underwear. When he was back to Toronto, he sends me his graduate picture with his, wait a second, I have the graduate picture. Oh, wait a second. I have props. Oh, wait, there's two, yeah. Graduate pictures. Yeah, very cute. And it was written in the back, à mon petit gars québécois, this should keep the vampires away. This should keep the vampires away. This is when I knew we were going to be friends forever. I did not expect that forever would be so soon. Okay, this is a very hard part. During the last years, even with his health was declining, he never complains and rarely wants to talk about his condition. I remember once, when we had a long time together, he told me that he was frustrated. What frustrated him the most was the fact that he just met the love of his life, Wade. He did not understand why life was doing this cruel trick on him. At the time, I just listened, and I finally told him, just live each second of your life to the fullest. Do everything you want to do and leave nothing but ashes at the end. And he did. He married his soulmate, traveled like a muggle, and loved as hard as he could. Muggle is a term that I don't understand, but he was a lot of. I still don't know why life gave him this cruel trick, but Mike truly showed me how to write the last chapter of a life. Whenever that is, it's done with charisma, nerve, and talent. Of course, I was going to quote Mama Ru, and let me do it again. We're all born naked, and the rest is drag. My dear friend, you live your life, which, back in the room, with love, acceptance, laughter, and grace. I will miss you dearly. I sincerely hope that wherever you are, there's a bunch of drags that makes your afterlife as much fun as the best season of All-Star on RuPaul Drag Race. Je t'aime, Mike. Beaucoup.
Thanks, Patrick. Next, I'd like to ask Nancy Kringus, Mike's colleague. Oh, sorry, Krigus. I'm sorry. Mike's colleague and friend of many years, and Mike would say his first work wife.
When Mike and I first became work spouses, we embarked on our journey as deputy crowns with an unbreakable partnership filled with laughter, challenges, and triumphs. I watched and learned as Mike navigated those busy, windowless hallways at College Park, always with a sense of humor, an unparalleled integrity, and a commitment to the excellence in the administration of justice and those we served. Now, Wade, although you are Mike's true spouse, please indulge me. because as his longest serving work wife, and in honor of the meaningful influence he had on my life and career, and in that of our College Park family, I have chosen tonight to renew my wedding vows with our Mike. My vows will reflect his love and the lessons he taught us over the years. If anyone objects to the renewal of our vows, speak now or forever hold your peace. Thank you to his many mistresses, Jen, Jill, Dana, Karen, Jess, Linda, and Kate, and so many more for not speaking up. Michael James Callaghan, my work husband, my cheerleader, my cherished friend. Today, I honor you because you led by example in the finest tradition of a crown, and later as a judge. You taught us to respect the law and those impacted by it, and those who served within it. In your unique way as the College Park deputy, and later as the embedded crown, and through your work at the Justice Centers, you gave hope to some of the city's most vulnerable and marginalized people. You were always so creative and brave with your compassionate resolutions and bail plans. You had this uncanny yet brilliant ability to turn hard moments into opportunities and solutions where there were seemingly none. You showed us how to give back to our community through your daily visits to the mental health court office or the Indigenous court workers. You demonstrated a fierce and unwavering advocacy of those without voices, inspiring us all to stand up to your College Park peeps, as you affectionately called them. The same peeps you looked after while you were with the police as the first embedded crown at 51 Division. I have to admit, I was worried that you wouldn't honor our vows when you took that position. Mike Callaghan in bed with the police, oy vey. But as with everything you did, your loyalty and impact was profound. You unilaterally built this position, and its success would not have been possible without the trust and respect the police have for you, many of whom are here today, mounted unit and all. Your fierce intelligence was your secret weapon when you were counseled to the ADAG and regularly briefed deputies and ministers with a disarming charm and a supreme reasonableness, so effective when the division needed it most. Mike, I cherish you as my work husband and pledge to honor you in the many ways you prepared us for our tomorrows. You taught us empathy and acceptance, to look for the good, make everyone feel welcomed, be compassionate, be kind, yet appropriately firm, much like your body was pressed up against that police cruiser one Halloween night. You taught us to live in the moment, to be present for family and friends, to be real and true to yourself, rainbow colors and all. You taught us to stay calm and carry on, and to recognize a manufactured crisis. We all know what photo I'm talking about, when the mice descended on that hopeless place, along with the many other plagues. And no, Mike, bald men can't get lice. You taught us to use humor to lighten the darkest moments, from tense management meetings to courtroom injustice. You knew you couldn't quite fix everything, but you constantly tried, injecting that compassionate Callaghan compassion. Your jokes were never cruel and always with a purpose, to pull us out of our maudlin mood. Mike, I promise to continue caring for our College Park family and beyond, as Mama Bear and as you did for us. You cared for us by teaching us the importance of appearances with your Chatelaine-like knowledge of facial creams, skincare products, and fashion, telling us what muumuus to burn, how to style short shorts the night you'd go out with the lame, my words, not his, College Park boys, and your cleavage roundup call every morning before court. Yes, no, no, yes. You fought for us with your healthy dose of moral outrage, Your level of rage was evident by how loud you punched on that keyboard with 2 fingers as you drafted poison blow dart emails to management. You laughed with us when we thought we had nothing left in us to laugh about, taking us for lunch to buy toys on the Yonge Street Strip, or demonstrating on the couch in our office how one gets a colonoscopy. You supported us wholeheartedly as our loudest cheerleader, not only in costume, but by challenging our imposter syndrome, encouraging us to be our best. Sweetie, you've got this. Sweetie, you're beautiful, but lose that Laura Elizabeth Ingalls Wilder dress. You celebrated us with your Mike Celsior Awards and appreciated our cultures by celebrating Asian Heritage Month with lanterns and Hello Kitty and dancing with the Egyptians. You inspired us with your absolute commitment to a fearless, principled, people-over-policy approach to work and life. Many talk about being this way, but very few had the courage to do it. You did. So, dearest work husband, with the renewal of our vows, I pledge to you that I will remain committed to carrying forward the values and lessons you taught us, including the magic laughter you brought to our College Park family and to all of those here tonight. We will continue to ask ourselves, what would Mike do or say now? How would he put us at ease and make us feel truly valued? To Wade, the true love of his life, and to the extraordinary Callaghan family, please look around and take comfort in knowing that each and every one of us are better people because of your precious Mike. We found love in a hopeless place where Mike shined life through an open door and created diamonds in the light in a place we called home. Mike, thank you for teaching us how to live, laugh, and love.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I'm going to call up next my daughter, Margot Hinchberger. Margot is Mike's oldest niece.
So, hi everyone. As my mom just said, my name is Margot. I'm Mike's oldest niece. I'll be honest, when I was thinking of what I was going to say today, I drew a blank, because how do you sum up a life as great as my Uncle Mike's? The truth is, you really can't. I'm sure so many of you know he was one of the greatest people in this world, and will continue to be through all of us. I miss him so much and will continue to do so forever. I know he touched countless people's lives, and although the past few months have been filled with sadness and sorrow, I feel as though today is a day we must be grateful. Grateful for the happiness that he brought into each of our lives. Grateful for the smile and laughter he drew out of us every time we saw him. Grateful for his compassion, kindness, and generosity. Growing up, I remember that my Uncle Mike used to buy me all the toys and items that my parents didn't want to buy me. They were loud, obnoxious, made messes. I think one of my favorites was when he bought me my Baby Alive doll. I fed this doll food, which caused it to cry and soil its diaper. Now that I'm older, I completely understand why my parents didn't want me to have that. But it truly made me so happy that he did that for me. Over time, its face started to melt, and he referred to it as Chucky. And the laughter didn't stop there, because the jokes continued for years. I also remember all the camping trips we went on, the drives up to Algonquin or Killarney that my brother and I got excited for every single year. Looking back on it, I told him how much I enjoyed those. My favorite year was when we got pulled over for speeding and got a flat tire in the span of an hour, to which we had to find somewhere to buy a new tire while in the middle of nowhere. This caused our drive to be extended by almost an hour. 4 hours, not an hour. I don't know why I said that. The thing is, I don't remember being upset or tired. I remember laughing and singing and dancing on the side of the road with my brother and my uncle for those hours. I am very, very fortunate to have so many great role models in my life, from my gaggle of uncles to my aunts, grandparents, and my mom and dad. All of these people have helped guide me in different ways throughout my life. I consider myself so lucky that I got to grow up with my Uncle Mike by my side, teaching me so many different things, even when I didn't realize he was. My Uncle Mike taught me what it means to be selfless, to be positive, to show kindness even when I don't want to be silly and goofy, to make a bad situation a happy one, and how to be strong. I wish I had more time with him. I had an amazing 22 years of my life with my Uncle Mike by my side. I wish I had more time so I could learn so much more from him and share all my accomplishments with him. Although he's gone, I will continue to see him in the rainbows and tulips and feel him in the stag leaps I attempt. And so far, it has been 2. Every day, I will do my best for me and others, just as he always did. I love you, Uncle Mike, and I always will.
My son, Jacob Hinchberger, is going to speak next. He's Mike's only nephew.
Over the last month or so, I've often found myself lost in thought, recounting the story of my uncle's life and the immense impact that he had on those who had the pleasure of meeting him. Of course, it's impossible to explain the magnificence of Mike's life with mere words. Similarly, words cannot begin to explain the enormity of our loss today. I've always known that Mike was a special person, someone truly unique and kind, who, as we can see today, was beloved by many. From the early days of the Callaghan family Christmas parties to my father's 40th birthday, he was always someone that charmed those he met with his eccentric sense of humor and genuine curiosity. I want to let you in on a little secret. What I'm about to tell you is confidential information, not to be repeated to anyone. Because as Mike first told me, what happens on the canoe trip stays on the canoe trip. Nearly 15 years ago, when I was 10, I embarked on a trip that marked an important moment in my life. The first of many annual canoe trips with my Uncle Joe, Mike, Matt, and Margie. At first I rode in a canoe with Joe and Matt, but as I got older, Mike and I became canoe partners. I was always in the back of the boat, sterning, while Mike sat in the front, setting the pace. When you canoe into a park, especially one like Algonquin, you're going to be sitting in the same canoe for hours, often with nothing but the wilderness and your partner at your side. I vividly remember a few details about these moments. First, Mike was a front seat canoer. Every time I took us a couple of degrees off course, Mike let me know, little comments like, "Oh, who's that over there?" "That looks like Joe and Matt. Why are they so far away?" Or, "We seem to be heading towards the middle of the lake." They always gave me a good laugh, kept me going, and obviously let me know that I should probably redirect our course. My uncle guided more than just a canoe on those trips. What I remember most of all are the conversations that we had when everything went silent. He would often tell stories about work, filling me in on the hot gossip. Sometimes we'd talk politics, but mostly he wanted to know about me, but the details of my life. We would talk for hours, not just about what was happening in my life, but also about how I was feeling and whether I was enjoying myself. My uncle cared so much about everyone in his life. He saw the beauty and the suffering of the world, always fighting for justice and leading us towards the right path. When I was going through hard times, he was always there to provide me with advice, comfort, and to assure me that life gets better. I now realize that this is how he was with everyone. He was there to support and comfort those around him. He always knew how to make the best of a bad situation and would go out of his way to brighten up the room. He was also very patient, thoughtful, and understanding. You could tell him anything and he would treat you with respect and dignity. I've always admired Mike's passion for his work as a lawyer and a judge, as well as his drive to help others and better the community. If I become half the man he was, then I would consider it a life well lived. Although he is no longer with us, I will continue to think of him in every moment, especially when canoeing through the wilderness or when I inevitably borrow one of his timeless jokes. I love you, Uncle Mike.
I didn't know anybody downtown. As it happened, my arrival at the office coincided with the time of change. A new Crown attorney had just been appointed, and Mike had been appointed as Deputy Crown at College Park, and all of the trial teams were being reconfigured. During the first conversation that I fully remember having with Mike, he sat down beside me at a Crown educational event and told me that I had been sorted onto his College Park trial team. In his words, "Smithjoy, no one knew you, no one wanted you, but I liked your name, so I took you." and so it began. I always describe being a part of the trial team at College Park under the leadership of Mike and Nancy Kriegas as the most formative years of my professional life, AKA the best of times, the worst of times. There are many people in this room who know exactly what I'm talking about. Mike would sometimes call College Park the windowless pit of doom, and there's no question that it could be a challenging place to work. Between the physical layout of the building, those lacquered brown floors will live in my memory forever, to the justice system participants that we served, who were often among the most marginalized members of the community. But I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere else. It's where I learned how to be a trial crown, and much of that I learned from Mike. And I'm definitely not alone. It is no exaggeration to say that Mike was beloved by the crowns that he led. Mike was the gravitational center of the College Park Crown's office and really the courthouse as a whole. Every single one of us remembers how when Mike walked into an in-session courtroom where we were running a trial or calling a list, he would instantly elevate the mood of the room. Judges, justices, court clerks, reporters, defense and duty counsel, everyone lit up a little bit when Mike came into the courtroom and spread a little of his humor and irreverence. Outside the windowless pit of doom, where the sun actually shone, Mike became a dear friend. I would love to regale you with stories about our time together, concerts, park dinners, wintertime backyard hangs with Mike and Wade and Banya and then Jada, lazy cottage days, group games of charades on the dock, which Mike was hilariously terrible at, street festivals in the neighborhood, raclette dinners, the time that my kid broke Mike's finger with a roundhouse kick when Mike insisted that he try it out on him. But the story that I want to share instead, the story that I think encapsulates so much of the beauty, charm, and effervescent light of Mike, is the time that Mike crashed my youngest sister's wedding reception. This was the summer of 2018. My sister Darcy and her partner Danielle had decided to get married on very short notice, like 3 weeks. The wedding was on a Monday at City Hall, and it was decided that the reception would be at our house, mine and my husband Ken's, in the backyard. It was going to be a small gathering of mostly family. As it happened, Mike was on vacation that week and in the city and was like, I'm coming to crash your sister's wedding party. I'm not sure I even asked my sister because I knew what the answer would be. Everyone in my family loved Mike. Yes, 100%, please crash the wedding party. When we got back from City Hall post-wedding, Mike was already there, ready to celebrate. He'd set himself up in the backyard, put the champagne that he brought on ice, In the photos from that day, Mike is everywhere. In pictures with the bride eating wedding cake, with my mom in front of the photo flower wall, with his little head popping up in the back of the Smith sibling photo with my brother and my sister, seriously, everywhere. As often happened when Mike showed up, the day became even brighter. Best wedding crasher ever. It is a testament to Mike's light that many of my friends became his friends, and my family also became his friends, and many of them are here this evening. Earlier this year, Mike and I were texting about his passport renewal, for which he had asked me to be a reference. Mike texted how long we known each other, 15 years? And I confirmed, yeah, 15 years, wow. Mike replied, that's family territory. And that's what it was. We were family, chosen family, as I know he was for many of you here. And that was the magic of Mike. He pulled us into his orbit and he held us there. I will forever miss him, and I am forever grateful to have lived in his light. Thanks.
Courthouse as duty counsel, and he was the deputy crown attorney along with Nancy Kriegas. Mike was really busy at this time and we didn't become instant friends. However, one day, Nancy took me aside and she asked me if I'd mind inviting Mike out, my friends. Thus began our close friendship. On that first evening out, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. But right away, I recognized Mike was someone unique and special. He was charming, authentic, and he had the best sense of humor. It's difficult to put into words what made him so unique. The best way I can is to say that he possessed an element of magic. That element of magic permeated all aspects of his life, from his special relationship with his family, to his loving relationship with Wade Turner, to his many friends and colleagues, to the way he dealt with our clients at the courthouse, specifically those with mental health issues, making us all feel heard, understood, and valued. That was part of Mike's magic. Mike knew the importance of family. One time I was complaining that my mom and my sisters kept calling and texting me. Mike turned to me and he said, yeah, it must be hard to be loved that much. Mike always told me how lucky he was to have Jim and Mary Jo as his parents. He knew that not everybody was as fortunate as he was, and he knew he was loved. Mike cherished his brother Joe, sister Marjorie and Maria, and he would often recount hilarious stories to me about their childhood. Mike loved being an uncle, and he looked forward to their annual canoe trip with his nieces and nephews. Mike and Wade found happiness together and made a loving home, which included their adorable dog, Jada. Mike told me how fortunate he was to have found a life partner in Wade, and Wade gave Mike unconditional love that helped sustain him in the last years. Mike was an amazing host. He loved to have people over for dinner and for parties. Part of his magic is that he made everybody feel welcome and important. His pièce de résistance was his Jell-O shots. I always knew when I went to one of Mike's parties, there would be an interesting and diverse group of people. He was social and always eager to meet new people because he genuinely was interested in people and their lives. Music was a big part of Mike's life. Fleetwood Mac, Gordon Lightfoot, Katie Lang were some of his favorites. Whenever I hosted a party, I always asked Mike to be in charge of the music. When he found out I was from Winnipeg, he told me about a time Katie Lang performed at the Junos. And the crowd gave her a standing ovation for over 10 minutes. Because of that, Winnipeg had a very special place in his heart. I'm not sure, but if you know, but Mike loved Halloween. He hosted many parties. The first Halloween party I attended, I arrived in a strikingly beautiful 6-foot-tall nurse with flowing golden hair and candy apple red lipstick greeted me. After chatting with her for a while, I asked if she knew where Mike was, and she looked at me perplexed. It turned out that was Mike. I had no idea. Another time, I helped Mike get into his Zombies for Trump costume, which was so tight I needed a pair of pliers to zip it up. Mike called me laughing the next morning and told me how surprised the cab driver was when a half-dressed zombie for Trump got into his cab. I think part of the reason why Mike loved Halloween so much is that Mike was naughty and he loved to have fun. Mike loved to travel, and he and I went on many adventures together. Puerto Vallarta, Quebec City, Ottawa, Miami, and cottages in the summer and the winter. Mexico City was special. We went for Mexico City Pride and had a blast. Mike was a strong proponent of LGBT rights and volunteered at the 519 Community Center during Pride and hosted a fundraiser for Rainbow Railroad. We were in Puerto Vallarta when the Attorney General called to say he was appointed to the Ontario Court of Justice. Alison Delandria and Baldo were there, so we were all able to go out and celebrate. It was a very special time, and we were all so proud of Mike. Mike's sense of humor, as you've heard, was a gift. He could make anybody laugh. One time when we were in bail court ages ago at College Park, there was a woman who was charged with assault with a weapon, the weapon being a blueberry muffin. When Mike was submitting the Crown's bail terms, he asked that she not possess any, specifically blueberry muffins. She could have other muffins. Even in the face of adversity, Mike's sense of humor prevailed. There's so many examples of this, but one that comes to mind is when he was ill, a doctor suggested that he might have to have a surgery that could damage his diaphragm. Mike turned to the physician without missing a beat and said, "Will it impact my opera career?" Mike brought so much laughter, joy, good conversation, naughtiness, and fun into my life, into all our lives. I'm going to miss him, his humor, his kindness, his magic. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I am the MC, but I did want to say a few things about my brother Mike. And I thought I'd start with some facts you might not know about Mike. He was a really good athlete and runner. He went to OFSA in high school for the 4x100 meter. OFSA is the Ontario Championships. After graduating from English high school, Mike did his undergraduate degree in French at Ottawa U. It was challenging, and I was impressed by his commitment to this, but bilingualism was important to him. He liked science fiction, including all the versions of Star Trek, Star Wars, and Dune. Mike did an infamous imitation of Darth Vader's line, "Luke, I am your father," which I have been told to not even attempt here. He loved Tina Turner. He had a huge picture of her over his waterbed at home in Sarnia growing up. I'm sure he dressed up as Tina Turner for a Halloween party or two. He loved blueberries, white tulips, and expensive skincare products. I'm not sure who I will ask now about what anti-aging products to put on my face. As you heard, Mike always knew he wanted to be a lawyer. My mom said he was 6 or 7. I remembered him saying he wanted to be a lawyer. I was 11 at the time, and I didn't even really know what a lawyer was, but he did. My brother was a loving and generous uncle to Jacob and Margot and Izzy, and even if he was a little unconventional, who else has an uncle who takes you on a canoe trip and gets you to ditch all the rain gear your mom packed in your backpack so you can carry extra King cans? And then makes you swear to not tell your mother about it. I actually didn't even hear this story until the last couple weeks. When our kids were young, we initiated the swear jar at home. Mike would come in the house for a visit, slap down a $20 bill, and say to the kids, "There, I'm covered." Mike had a self-deprecating, sometimes inappropriate sense of humor that was filled with Canadian cultural references and imitations from the 80s. A favorite was "Holy Weekend at Bernie's." A lot of them were not appropriate to say here. Younger generations didn't always get the reference, but his delivery made it funny anyways. And he really was the funniest person I know. Mike always wanted to know the details about my life, my training, running or triathlon races, how things were going for the kids, or Sean's engineering projects. In fact, he was always trying to get Sean to secure him a tour of an underground mine, tunnel, or a big infrastructure project. I think maybe he just wanted to wear a hard hat, work boots, and a tool belt. Mike was absent-minded. He lost and often found his phone in more countries than many people have been to. He rarely left our house after a visit without leaving a couple of key items behind. Mike was generous with us. He often suggested that Sean and I should go and stay at his place for the weekend when he traveled. So one weekend we took him up on it and had planned a romantic getaway in Toronto. About an hour after we arrived at his place, Mike called from the airport saying he had mixed up the weekends and his trip with the posse was actually the following week. So Sean, Mike, and I had a great weekend together, shopping, watching movies, and eating out. We laughed about our Mikey getaway weekend for years. Yes, he always told me, do not eat the chocolate in the freezer. I never understood why, but he would call me up and ask for my advice on I missed one. Although he was very successful as a Crown attorney and then judge, I found Mike was always humble, kind, and interested in everything. I never understood why, but he would call me up and ask for my advice on important things. He made me feel smart, successful, and important to him. And I miss him. Thank you. And I'd like to call up our final speaker, the other Justice Callaghan, my brother Joe.
I shouldn't have gone last. I'm just gonna look at everybody first. Okay. Category is gay, bald judges. Yeah. Yeah. So that's how Mike started his speech when he introduced me at my swearing in as a judge. It was a remarkable moment that captured so much of Mike's joyous energy and exemplified how he could use his wonderful humor to make a serious point. Mike was my personal speaker on a day when two more openly gay judges, Rob Wright, who's here, and myself, were joining Mike on the bench. It was important to Mike to mark this occasion, given the significance of having more LGBTQ representation on the Ontario Court of Justice. Mike was always grateful to those that came before us, who did so much to smash the pink ceiling and to create safe space where he could be himself and thrive. Mike could never forget his former Crown colleague, Michael Leshner's impact on his life, with Leshner's profound legacy of equality rights for all LGBTQ Ontarians. I'm so proud to stand here and thank my brother for adding to this legacy through his tremendous contribution to the betterment of queer lives in our profession. Mike was a kind and humble person who was generous with his time and supportive of everyone with whom he worked. That included making time to mentor young LGBTQ lawyers who looked up to Mike as a role model. Mike understood the importance of visibility and always wanted to use his privilege for good. Mike understood over the course of the weeks that have passed since Mike's death, I received many beautiful notes from lawyers who expressed their profound gratitude for Mike, for having benefited from Mike's kindness, experience, and wisdom. Mike was so grateful for the unconditional love and support of our parents, Mary Jo and Jim, that allowed him to thrive as his authentic self. As Mike lovingly explained during his swearing in as a judge, our parents have been advocates of equity throughout their lives. They made sure that their children knew about racial inequity and gender disparity. When they found out that they had a gay child, well, actually two, they started an education and support group in Sarnia for parents of LGBTQ children. Our mom and dad were Mike's role models who were instrumental in creating such a unique and remarkable person. Mike had a long-standing commitment to people who suffered from major mental illness. Throughout his career as a Crown, Mike appeared at the Ontario Review Board as much as he could. And for a period of time, he became a fixture in the mental health court at Old City Hall. There, he did his best to use his empathy, fairness, and good judgment to achieve the best results possible for the numerous mentally ill accused who passed through 102 Court. Mike could always see the forest for the trees. And what enabled Mike to see the just path, the right way forward, was his ability to listen, to let everyone with whom he spoke feel heard, valued, and respected. When judges are first appointed, but before they're sworn in, we spend several weeks shadowing our colleagues in court. During my time shadowing, I had the wonderful privilege to shadow Mike. I got to watch my brother Mikey, virtually due to COVID, do his thing as a judge in mental health court. It confirmed what I already knew. Mike brought the same kindness and light that filled his heart into the courtroom, where he tried to help find justice for the folks who appeared before him and the community that he served. So, as all you have heard over and over, Mike had a remarkable, mischievous sense of humor. Indeed, he was the one person who could always make me laugh. It was a quality he maintained even as the cancer took its toll. Well, this humor, of course, made our annual canoe trips with our niece and nephew, Margot and Jacob, so much fun. For starters, did you know that Mike was fluent in multiple bird languages, including loon, crow, and chickadee? Mike would regale us with lengthy live interpretations of the bird song on our campsite. And of course, the loons just happen to have a Brooklyn accent. Mike would also bring all the latest camping gadgets on our trips. He loved gadgets, including the strange apparatus that made a low humming sound that he swore kept the bugs away. He would cause an eruption of laughter when he would declare that he had a zone of protection, even while he's swarmed by mosquitoes. Over the last number of years, when Mike was no longer able to work, I spent quite a bit of time with him, reveling in his orbit, learning new aspects of Mike that I didn't fully appreciate. One new piece of information to me was Mike was not just an enormous fan of RuPaul's Drag Race and Canada's Drag Race. Mike sought out and watched drag competitions from around the world. Belgium, Australia, Spain, Thailand, the Netherlands. I didn't know they had so many shows. Mike was drawn to these shows for several reasons. Of course, he watched for the glamour, the costumes, and the performances. And of course, the often heated competitions. But it was the stories of the competitors' resilience to overcome tremendous heartache and trauma, their passion to follow their dreams, and their ability to find their own voices, to celebrate their complete selves. That really captured Mike's imagination. Of course, if you've had the privilege to spend a Halloween, as you've heard with Mike, you would know Drag Race fandom has inspired his costumes. Whether it was the zombie nurse, Wonder Woman, our sister Margie. It was really good. Or a Swiss Frau. Mike loved to go full drag to celebrate the gay high holiday. Je voulais prendre un moment pour vous remercier tous pour l'amour, la gentillesse et le soutien que vous m'avez apporté à moi et à ma famille. Votre présence ici, ainsi que les nombreux emails, messages textes et belles cartes aux expressions sincères ont beaucoup compté pour nous. De plus, nous sommes vraiment touchés par vos généreux dons à la Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation et à Rainbow Railroad en l'honneur de Mike. Before I conclude, I want to take a moment to thank all of you for the love, kindness, and support you have given me and my family. Your presence here and the emails, texts, beautiful cards with heartfelt expressions have meant so much to us. In addition, we're truly touched by your generous donations to Mike's favorite charities in his honor. When having the difficult conversation with Mike about how he wanted us to honor his life after he died, Mike was insistent that we throw a party, a celebration with laughter, dancing, sparkling wines, and drag queens, and a little bit of sadness. He said, "I want a few tears." He said, "Well, Mikey, we've done our best to honor your wishes. We miss you so much."
Thanks, Joe.